Great day, folks. This video is going to be about the Nephilim. So, for any of y'all looking for this fantastic story of these huge giant people and such, just want to let you know you might as well not watch the rest of this. I wanted to look at Scripture and how it speaks to us in parables and riddles, and present this what I see as the Nephilim today. The Hebrew Strong's number for Nephil, which is Nephilim, is just plural for the Nephil, is H5303, and there's three times those occurred in Scripture. Three different times it was applied. I left out the definition on purpose, just for and I'll bring this back later on in the video, and I'm going to try to keep this pretty short here, so we're going to run through it. Otherwise, when you study Scripture and try to do a video, it can become a fractal pattern and just branch off into any multiple directions. So we're just going to look at the Nephil and see where the study takes us. The primitive root to Nephil is Nephal, and as you noticed in the slide before, it's basically the same spelling. Nun, Pei, Lamed are the words used, but it means to fall. One of the occurrences of Nephilim is in Genesis 6:4, and it says, "The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name." So again, just want to highlight here, as you can see, I underlined, and also afterward. So these were after those days of Noah. Numbers 13:33, "And we saw there the Nephilim, the sons of Anak of the Nephilim, and we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes." And so we were in their eyes. Again, like to point out, grasshoppers here doesn't necessarily mean grasshoppers literally as far as the size of grasshoppers, but if you've ever been in a swarm of grasshoppers, you will see that a swarm of grasshoppers can be very destructive to others. They eat much vegetation. Psalm 78:1 through 3, it speaks here, "My people, give ear to my Torah, incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I open my mouth in a parable, I utter riddles of old, which we have heard and known, for our fathers have related them to us." Torah is H8451. If you look it up etymologically, it will tell you it's an instruction and a law. Parable is H4912. Mashal, if you look it up etymologically, you'll find that it says allegorical or metaphorical narrative, usually having a moral for instruction. And then riddle, we have H2420, Chida. Etymologically, if we look it up, a word, game, or joke comprising a question or statement couched in deliberately puzzling terms, propounded for solving by the reader, using clues embedded within that wording. So we have here in Psalms 78:1 through 3 these three words: Torah, parable, and riddles. And if those that are familiar, the Torah is considered the first 5 books of Scripture from Genesis to Deuteronomy. So our Father above, our Creator, says he opens his mouth in a parable and he utters riddles of old. So this was given to us to try to figure out what he was really trying to tell us in his instructions and his law. He was telling us allegorical and metaphorical stories that gave us a moral instruction. And as far as the riddles, he gave us riddles to be able to piece together. I believe Isaiah says here a little, there a little, here a line, there a line. So it's basically putting these things together throughout Scripture to solve his riddles. If we look at Genesis 6:4 in context, we can see here it reads, "And it came to be when men began to increase on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them, that the sons of Elohim saw the daughters of men, that they were good, and they took wives for themselves of all whom they chose. And Yahuwah said, My spirit shall not strive with man forever in his going astray. He is flesh, and his days shall be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of Elohim came to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, the men of name. And I'd like to mention here, name there is the Hebrew Strong's number H8034, which is Shem. It basically doesn't mean the pronunciation of a name. It just means their character, authority, or what they're known by. So the men of a renown, I believe, is the way the King James Version speaks. So it's basically your individuality, what you're known by. It's not talking about the pronunciation of a name. And Yahuwah saw that the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. And Yahuwah was sorry that he made man on the earth, and he was grieved in his heart. And Yahuwah said, I am going to wipe off man, whom I have created from the face of the ground, both man and beast, creeping creature, and birds of the heaven, for I am sorry that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah. Interesting. Noah means rest. So that's what we're told to do every seventh day. We're told to rest. So Noah found favor in the eyes of Yahuwah there. Also, because I underlined and put in bold the men and man, here is just to emphasize these Nephilim are not speaking of these creatures of great size, or it's talking about actual men of name that have a character, a bad character about them. But you have two characters to choose from in this life. You can have a righteous character or an unrighteous character, and these were men just by the story and here in the context, they were men of bad character. Numbers 13:25 through 33, and they returned. This is in the context of the other portion of the Nephilim there, the two of the three instances here in 33rd verse. If you read it in context, and it says, and they returned from spying out the land after 40 days. And of course, this was Israel outside the land that was promised to them, and they returned from out of that land after 40 days where they had spied it out. And they went and came to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel in the wilderness Paran at Kadesh, and they brought back word to them and to all the congregation and showed them the fruit of the land. Again, that could be bad fruit or good fruit. And they reported to him and said, we went to the land where you sent us, and truly it flows with milk and honey, and this is its fruit. But the people who dwell in the land are strong, and the cities are walled very great. And we saw the descendants of Anak there too. And the Amalekites dwell in the land of the south, while the Hittites and the Jebusites and the Amorites dwell in the mountains, and the Canaanites dwell by the sea and along the banks of the Jordan. And Caleb silenced the people before Moses and said, let us go up at once and take possession, for we are certainly able to overcome it. But the men who had gone up with him said, we are not able to go up against the people, for they are stronger than we. And they gave the children of Israel an evil report of the land which they had spied out, saying, the land through which we have gone as spies is a land eating up its inhabitants, and all the people whom we saw in it are men of great size. And if we look up that great size, it's Strong's number H4060, Midah, tribute. So I ask anybody that's up to this point in this video, if you'd like to check it out for yourself, go look up tribute, what it means in etymology, and that'll give you a sense of what these men of great size were all about. And we saw there the Nephilim, sons of Anak of the Nephilim, and we were like grasshoppers in our own eyes, and so we were in their eyes. Again, I would like to establish their grasshoppers is not necessarily talking about the small size of a grasshopper in literal sense. Is what a parable of what a grasshopper is. If you see grasshoppers literally, and there's hordes of them, that they can decimate a piece of property in a very short period of time. So again, grasshoppers, we need to look at it in that way too. Okay, we have here the word Petros is G4074. It's apparently a primary word, but I just want to emphasize a piece of rock. A rock, a piece of rock. Okay, so have that in your mind, a piece of rock. And then if we look at the other portion of Petra, we got Greek Strong's number 4073. Here it says a mass of rock, literally or figuratively, a mass of rock. John 1:42 states here, and he brought him to Yahushua and looked at him, and Yahushua said, "You are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Peter, or Kepha," okay, which means a stone. All right, so we got that there in Greek Strong's number 4074, Petros. And then here we have in Matthew 16:18, and I also say to you that you are Kepha, Peter, and on this rock is that other Strong's number, Petra, for Petra, I shall build my assembly, and the gates of Sheol shall not overcome it. So that's a Hebrew word, Sheol. I think the Greek there is Gehinnom. But anyway, that rock, keep in mind, he named Peter Rock. So there's emphasis in the reason why people are given certain names in Scripture. It's to talk about their character and who they are. 1 Corinthians 10:1-4. For I do not wish you to be ignorant, brothers, that all our fathers were under the cloud, and all passed through the sea, and all were immersed into Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and all ate the same spiritual food, and all drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed, and the rock was Messiah. So our Messiah is that rock, and Peter was a piece of that rock. And anybody that is a follower of Messiah is considered a piece of that rock too. So you put many of those together, they become a mass of rocks. So this is why I underline cloud here in verses 1 and 2. And let's look at that. So we have here, it's Greek Strong's number 3507. What's interesting here is that Greek name for cloud is Nephilim. So it comes from Greek Strong's number 3509. Properly cloudiness, that is concretely a cloud. Then if we look at the Nephil, the Strong's number, Hebrew Strong's number 5303, again, you can see the similarity of Nephil in Nephilim in Greek, and then you got Nephil in the Hebrew. I find that interesting. Cloud, this is the etymological understanding of what a cloud. Look here. Cloud, mass of rock. And also, if you go to etymology, look up clod, what clod means. And you can just simply go to etymology online, punch in cloud, and go study it out. And this is what I've shared here on the screen. Underlined a metaphoric extension that begins to appear in round about the 1300s in southern texts, based on similarity of cumulus clouds and rock masses. So that's why a mass of rock, a cloud, was considered a mass of rock. So if you saw a cloud, it was considered a mass of rock back then, and that was I think we can find etymology takes us back to why they use these words like they did. The last entry for cloud in the original rock mass sense in Middle English compendium is from circa around about 1475 AD. So anyway, about 175 years later, the last entry of cloud for a mass of rocks was used in about that period of time. In Mark 14:61-62, we got here, but he remained silent and gave no answer. Again, the high priest asked him, saying to him, "Are you the Messiah, the Son of the Blessed?" And Yahushua said, "I am, and you shall see the Son of Adam sitting at the right hand of the power and coming with the clouds of the heaven." So again, with what we just studied about clouds, that puts a whole different emphasis on, is this literal clouds in the sky above, or is this talking about a mass of people like Peter, apostles, emissaries, taught ones of the word of Yahuwah? 2 Peter 2:17. Here, Peter himself is writing here that clouds are symbolic of men. So you can have righteous clouds or you can have unrighteous clouds. And these are unrighteous clouds that Peter is talking about. These are fountains without water, clouds driven by a storm, to whom the blackest darkness is kept forever. So if you looked at this in context, a lot of people think this is actually these angelic beings. But if you go study what angels mean in Scripture, you can also see that it's referring to men. Specifically pastors or teachers of the Scriptures. Jude 1:12-13. These are rocky reefs. Look at the symbolism here. And again, go read Jude in context. These are rocky reefs in your love feast, feasting with you, feeding themselves without fear. Waterless clouds borne about by the winds. Late autumn trees without fruit, twice dead. Twice dead. There's a good conversation right there. Pulled up by the roots, wild waves of the sea, foaming up their own shame, straying stars for whom darkness is kept forever. So again, there's Jude, or I believe it's the Hebrew name would be Jacob. He's speaking the same language as Peter was, and this is symbolic language about men. Proverbs 25:14. He who has boast of his gifts falsely is like clouds and wind without rain. So again, another unrighteous symbolism of clouds, or men being clouds. They're like wind without rain. All right, or clouds without rain. Scriptural symbolism. Clouds equal massive rocks, equal large number of people, no matter if they are righteous or unrighteous. Okay, so when you see clouds in Scripture, it's usually symbolically referring to a large number of people, whether they're righteous or unrighteous. Greek 1186, we have here, it's a word dendron. It's talking about an oak, a tree. So this word here speaks of a tree. Tree, if you look it up etymologically, here's what I got when I looked it up, and I underlined here what most grabbed me. It's to be firm, solid, steadfast. So a tree, whether you're righteous or unrighteous, you can be symbolic of a tree that is firm, solid, or steadfast. Mark 8:24, and he looked up and said, and the context of this verse is where a blind man was healed, where he could see, and he looked up. They asked him what he saw, and he looked up and said, "I see men like trees walking." So he was looking at men, but he says, "I see men like trees walking." Matthew 12:33, either make a tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree rotten and its fruit rotten, for a tree is known by its fruit. So if you think about, there's a scripture that talks about you will know them by their fruits, and it's talking about people. You will know them by their fruits. Well, here again, here's a symbolic name used here in Scripture. Either make the tree good and its fruit good, or else make the tree rotten and its fruit rotten. Jeremiah 17:8, for he shall be like a tree planted by the waters, which spreads out its roots by the river, and does not see when heat comes, and its leaf shall be green, and in the year of drought he is not anxious, nor does he cease from yielding fruit. So again, this symbolism of people being a tree. And of course, this would be someone that has the word inside of them. So you'd spread your roots out, and you would not see when the heat comes, and his leaf shall be green. And in the year of drought, he is not anxious, nor does he cease from yielding fruit. So again, you can go look at that in context. Scriptural symbolism: trees equal people, no matter if they are righteous or unrighteous. Do you know his name? All right. Do you know this person's name? He donated more than $500 million to various educational, religious, and scientific causes through a foundation named after him. Among his activities, he funded the establishment of the University of Chicago and an Institute for Medical Research, now a university. Now, let's take a look back at Nephilim and look at the definition for Nephil. We have here Strong's number H5303. Again, the definition is properly a feller. That is a bully or a tyrant. So what is a feller? Feller, if you look it up etymology, it means one who fells trees. Now, do you know his name? Rockefeller donated more than $500 million to various educational, religious, and scientific causes through the Rockefeller Foundation. Among his activities, he funded the establishment of the University of Chicago and the Rockefeller Institute for Medical Research, now Rockefeller University. So I find it interesting that the name Rockefeller and what we know, if you look at the history of Rockefeller, and he came into to the oil business and just became a tyrant and a bully in the oil business. His name alone meshes with what we can see in Scripture about some of the meanings of these words here. So Rockefeller equals a stormy cloud that fells trees. Okay, equals a person who causes others to fall from righteousness, a bully or tyrant, which equals Nephil. We have here in Proverbs 25:2, it is the esteem of Elohim to hide a matter and the esteem of sovereigns to search out a matter. So again, guys, I enjoy doing word studies. I don't get to put out as many videos as I like to because I'm time restraint with all the other activities I'm involved in. But anyway, I hope this has been a blessing to some of y'all out there. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up and share the video. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down and a comment. Comment either way, good or bad. I appreciate y'all, and y'all have a blessed day.